was able to find out the 3L.
3PL.
Yeah, 3PL.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about an outsourcing an aspect of
Thank you.
the company's supply chain
Good.
to another company
True.
to enable them so that they'll be able to focus on their strength.
The strength.
Yes, and
Good.
then leave that aspect for another company to work for them. Yeah,
So we can.
an example is quite recently I bought a shoe online, and the company that brought it was not the shoes company. I mean, it's not the brand's logistics that brought it. It was UPS.
Oh, UPS. Okay.
Yeah, UPS brought it, but it was a New Balance pair of shoe. So I'm sure New Balance collaborated with UPS to handle
Correct. Correct.
their deliveries, and which is
Correct.
another that'll be their delivery aspect of their business to
Correct.
UPS. Yeah. So that's what I learned yesterday.
Amazing. So they are third parties, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Let's back on. What is your understanding on road transport?
Road transport will simply mean uh, businesses that are or logistics that deliver goods from maybe the manufacturer's point, or from the warehouse to the retailer or to the consumer by road.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. So you clearly define, and you can look at the pros and cons. Obviously, it will be shorter in terms of distances, easy to schedule or track. Consignments can be more secured and private. When it comes to containerization or containers, road transport has become a crucial link in freight distribution. But limitation may be the high fuel cost can be a barrier. Average operational flexibility, high maintenance costs, as we all know, risks of goods being damaged. But for me, the main concern will be the hurdles will be the traffic delays, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the breakdown. As for fuel costs, every transport will require fuel costs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for me, it's not really a concern. However, when it comes to road, the main disadvantage of road may be the traffic. The traffic, yeah, as compared to air freight. Not to say that they don't have traffic or rail. Okay, so per your definition, then we can say rail is also transport of goods through the railway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But most times, it is more expedient to use transportation of things like coal, steel, and other things through rail rather than road, because some of these things can splash, or you know what I mean, they can split on the way. That can be disastrous. So those things, when you use rail, it's more safer than the road, because chemicals like this by the road is very dangerous.
Yeah, it will be a risk to
High
other
risk.
users.
Yeah, once a little breakdown on the road is disastrous. Disastrous. Okay. And one may be some of his fuel efficiency. We all know manpower efficiency, higher capacity, they're more organized. But the limitations may be, the unsuitable. It's unsuitable for short distances. High cost of developing rail infrastructure. Need to use another transport, of course, with rail, because rail cannot go or cannot be extended to certain farm. It will need to end somewhere, and you have to then transport into road transport. So that is the limitations.
Yeah.
When it comes to rail, exactly. So those are things that you will need to look into when you are looking at the pros and cons. And then subjected to physical restrictions of height and volumes of passage by the individual types of gauges. Also, because of how rail is, you may have, unlike road where there is an open space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which road wouldn't be so. Most of the road, even in the UK underground, they has height limitations. So some of the things, the goods that you want to carry, they may have limitation in terms of the gauges. You know what I mean? As compared to road where it's an open space and you can have it as high as you want. So those are things that you'll need to look into. Okay. And then air transport, we all know, is the fastest mode of transport in the nation or international. Advantages: high speed, we all know, how allow transport of perishable goods, non-infrastructure, easy access, reduce damage waste, we all know, highly accurate ship dates. So but again, limitations will be small carrying capacity. It don't take that much, isn't it? Compared to road or rail or even the sea freight. Potential for flight delays or cancellation, of course. Of course, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then size and weight limitations. Those are things that we have to also consider. Then finally, the sea freight, as we all know, is widely used by companies, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who ship large amount. In fact, in terms of large amount, ship is the best route at once with longer lead times. We all know it takes long. This mode of transport is longest, yet ideal for bulk shipment, which is very true. Which is very, very true. What may be the disadvantage? Suitable for wide range of products, true. Large volumes can be transported, is true. Extensive coverage around the world. Less maintenance cost, that is true. Its limitations will be slow speed, lack of infrastructure in many countries to facilitate sea transport, difficult to monitor exact location of goods and transport, customs and exercise restrictions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Any question at all?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at the diagram, the use of different modes of transport, you may have air freight, you may have rail, you may have rail, you have air speed, you have a track. So you can see that it becomes wider when it comes to track. Are you there?
Yeah.
With the yellow sign. Less with the rail, and then blue with the maritime, which is sea.
Yeah.
Okay. So you look at the market share between air freight and rail. You can look at the market share. It's more huger at the track level. Okay. In other words, the volume of distribution according to value of time. So you look at the time, the trip, you can see that it is more. The highest peak is around the maritime area, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it declines. Okay. So from rail up to the maritime area, you can see the highest volume is around those periods, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good. So that's what it means. So essence of time, value of time. You can realize that it is faster with air freight, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, it's faster with, we all know it's faster with air freight and longer with track. That is road, isn't it? A bit longer with rail and a bit maritime, which is sea. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is also longer, but it's no longer in terms of, it is more or less long than rail and track. You get the point? Exactly. That's a minute. You gotta understand it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's analyze the underlying factor: cost and time of transportation. Cost and time of transportation. Air freight, around to 10 days.
From Asia to Europe.
Come again?
It says from Asia to Europe. Europe.
Yeah. From Asia to Europe. Then talk about rail, which is 14 to 19 days. And then C 26, 23 to 43 days. Very long. Very long. The transport cost. The choice of transportation mode to route people and freight between origins and destination becomes important and depends on a number of factors such as, what are those factors? The nature of the goods, the available infrastructures, origins and destinations, technology, and particularly their respective distances. So one, the nature of the goods, isn't it? Perishable, non-perishable, that would inform you where you want to take, because if the thing keeps long on the way, some of the goods may, you know what I mean?
Go back. Yeah.
So it's very important. Frozen chicken and all those things, you have to look at how long does it take for a frozen chicken to, so you have to factor in then the available infrastructures, the origins and destinations. You have to look into all those things. And then transport costs can come as fixed or variable operating cost, depending on a variety of conditions related to geography, infrastructure, administrative barriers, energy, and on how passengers and freight are carried. Okay, very important. 3 major components related to transaction, shipment, and the friction of distance impact on transport cost. Okay, transactions, the shipment, and the friction of the distance, they have an impact on the transport cost. Very important that we need to note. But when you say transaction cost, showing you what it means. Transaction cost for transactions, the cost that comes with it. We need to look into it relative to transport cost. The friction of space from A to B. Okay, we have to look into that. And then the shipment itself need to be looked into. Why would you say transactions are very important? Why would you say the shipment itself and the friction of distance, they all play a major role in determining transport cost? In other words, this is what probably the ship companies, the shippers may look into to charge. You understand? To charge. And you also the other way around. Assuming you have trucks and you run a haulage company where you supply trucks. When people come and say they want you to transport something from there, you have to look into the transaction cost, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. The transaction, you have to look how worthy is it for the transactions. Okay, so from where to Accra to Navrongo, is it worth it? The transaction that you have to take the goods from one place to another is not a direct route, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Say you have to, when you get to Kumasi, you have to pick another goods from there. So it's not a direct transaction. So it is from one place which involves a lot. So it's a bit complex. So you have to look at those costs. You have to look at the shipment itself that you are carrying. Is it fragile? You understand? Is it fragile? Is it toxic? Does it require even escorts to follow? Is it money? So those are things you have to look into. Then you look at the friction of distance. Those are important things that managers have to look into when you are. So as I've explained, is the transaction costs are related to resolve the setting of movement, including legal costs, insurance, all those things are transactions. For international movement, they can be significant as issues related to currency exchange as well. Very, very, very important. As well as custom duties. Normally, road custom duties, have to be considered. Very, very important. What then is friction of space? It represents how many units of distance can be traded per unit of cost, which indicates how much effort, time, energy must be made to ensure that movement takes place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And labor costs and all those things. In Ghana, you have to tip all these custom officers, isn't it?
Yeah.
And all that, just to make smooth. So these are things that as a manager, you need to take notice of and ensure that all has been gone. So the distance is considered to be simplest attribute for such a purpose. But when international transportation is involved in the change in jurisdictions is also an important component of the transport cost. Very, very important. Because the distance would also inform you and your cost as well. The shipment itself. Shipment implies the physical characteristics of the transportation process and the effort that must be made to make a passenger or a freight unit transportable. The higher the level of massification of the units, the lower the transport cost. Okay, the higher the level of massification, the lower the transport cost. Okay, additionally, freight must be prepared for transport, such as packaging, palletization, or stuffing into a container. Okay, so freight must be prepared for transport, such as packaging. So you need to have a freight to cover product that involve packaging, or you have to palletize them or stuff into the container. Those are what we call freight for containers. So those have to be chargeable as well. So it means that the shipment, which is the physical character of a transportation process and the efforts that must be made to make a passenger or a freight unit transferable. So those are things that you have to look into as well. And you can look at the unit cost, the lower transport. So we say that the freight must be prepared for transport. In other words, when they are giving you freight charges, whether it's a clearing agent and all that, they factor those things. Even the packaging, using the pallets, or it doesn't need to be stuffed into a container. All those things comes to play when it comes to freight. Okay. Okay. Terminal cost. We all know terminal cost. Warehousing, all those related to loading, offloading. When it comes to terminal port, when the ship arrives, it needs to be offload from the ship, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the crane drivers, all those things, they are cost. And that's what the Ghana port will charge. So if you look at their charges, they will state that they use this machine to offload the goods from here to one point to another. 10 laborers will use what we call stevedoring companies. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And all that. So terminals in Ghana, they have what we call MPS. Okay. They do all those and they offload. The Ghana port doesn't necessarily have private companies that do these things as well. So those are costs that we need to look into. Then we're talking about line haul costs. Line haul cost. What's that? The line haul costs that are function of distance over which unit of freight or passenger is carried. Okay. Weight is also a cost function when freight is involved. They include labor and fuel and commonly exclude transshipment cost. It's always a cost function when freight is involved. They include labor and fuel and commonly excluded transshipment cost.
Yeah.
Then capital cost, which I think is one of the things that everybody knows. That applies to physical assets for transportation, mainly infrastructures, terminals, and vehicles. So depending on where you're looking at, if you are the company owner, obviously your capital cost may be the warehouse that you have that you are supplying, the terminals is or the vehicles that is using for all those things. So those are capital costs. Those are capital costs. So those are things that, so you may have a warehouse that you are renting for people. And of course, maintaining the warehouse, it's capital cost, isn't it?
Yes.
The vehicles that you may use to, offload staffs, there may be truck drivers, there may be forklift and all that. Those are all capital costs. They also include purchase of major enhancement of fixed assets, which can often be a one-time event. Since physical assets tend to depreciate over time, that is true. Capital investments are required on a regular basis for maintenance. Okay, they are required for maintenance. Any question at the moment?
So it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a unit transport cost and we have transport sequence. First mile and last mile. So you can see the trajectory, it goes down, down, and it goes up. You know, so between those, you can see the transport sequence: the first mile and your last mile. Those are things that we need to factor in your mileage. And most times, some companies may charge in the UK, they may charge per mileage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. No. The Uber driver, don't they charge per mile?
They do.
That should have, yeah, they have the units and all. So those are important things. So what then may be the reasons for high cost and last mile unit cost? What may be the reason? Composition and decomposition of cost. For a first mile, those have to be considered to improve their economies of scale. You know economies of scale?
Yeah.
Okay. Economies of scale, as well as to meet the minimum load requirement for transportation modes. And we all know whether truck load or whether container load. So it is important that in the first mile, loads have to be considered has to be consolidated to improve. Why do they have to consolidate it? Why not just pushing them into the container or something? Why?
Is that why do they have to be consolidated?
Yes, products, whether on the ship or truck. Why do they we could just transfer them on
In order to reduce the risk of damage and all that.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm. And also to meet the load requirements, uh, the legal load requirements
Mhm.
of transportation, yeah, for transporting.
Okay.
Mm.
And that's how come they mention economies of scale, you understand?
Yeah.
Because in economies of scale, you are trying to economize, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, so you may have a space that that you will need to consolidate the staff very well. Those containers, if you imagine you are paying so much for a container, maybe for £5,000 for one shipment of container, then you need to make sure that you consider your staff you are shipping to Ghana so that Ghana can take most of the things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the freight charges are expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, they are.
Perfect. So those are economies of scale. So those are the things that you have to factor in as a shipper, or imagine you are a logistics manager. Very, very important. The rest are not much important here. Then we can look into congestion. Congestion. So the locations where cargo is generated and attracted usually takes place in metropolitan areas. There is a that's a congestion factor that is salient for the last mile, particularly when retail distribution is concerned. This brings forward the concept of city logistics that seeks to mitigate the complexities of moving freight within multiple. So I'm sure in the UK there's even more of a congestion charge. Have you heard of it?
Congestion charge.
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Okay, around London, when you're going towards London, if you decide to dodge or refuse to use a route that is congested, but you try to use the UK, there's a route when you go through, they will charge you because you are at that route, or that route of road transfer to London is decongested. Okay.
Okay.
You can Google it. There's congestion charge in some of the routes in the
Oh,
UK.
okay.
Mhm. So when you decide not to go to that route, that is to a non-connect, they will charge you for using that route.
Okay.
So that's congestion factor, very, very important. Okay. So it says this brings to forward the concept of city logistics. That's 6.2. It means that there are companies that find themselves in the city that they could help to,
Mm.
mitigate those complex,
That's falling back to
thank
back
you.
falling back on the three
3
P.
p.m. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, yes, 1 minute. There's this in the UK. Let me just 1 minute. Let me just. So in the UK, transport of landing, if you Google it, it's a congestion charge. It's a £15 daily charge if you drive within the congestion charge zone. Okay.
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 Yeah.
That zone. That is between 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, and between 12 a.m. between 12 noon to 8 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No charge between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So have you heard a congestion charge? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, they are charging because probably a private sector or government have made those routes so that you don't go through all those congestions and all that. And for you to apply those, they'll charge you. You understand? Select the national commercial term. So you may have, you see this term, these are most of transport, but these are the types of freight services that you need to know as a logistics person or as a shipping aspect or procurement aspect. So we have different types of commercial terms. Have you heard of Incoterms?
No.
International trading involves Incoterms. Okay. The meaning of Incoterms, international commercial terms. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. So that's Incoterms. In Incoterms, you need to understand the commercial freight terms that is related to it, because in international trade, we don't normally trade with money exchange per se. We do what we call letters of credit. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just that two banks dealing with it, and you have a huge goods to, maybe you have to bring in crude oil. You need to have a bank to guarantee for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To raise what is called letters of credit. Because of the amount of money you have with the bank, they can guarantee and say, you know what, we have this, you have a guarantee, we have so we are guaranteeing that this money is when the goods are delivered, we are going to pay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we will letters of credit. You need to understand these things as a manager. Okay. In the same way, there are types of mode of transport. So you need to know, as a logistics manager for your company, what kind of commercial terms are your goods being brought into your country, because that would inform you to know whether the goods are being delivered to you with all custom duty cleared, okay, or you need to clear the custom duty to yourself, okay. So we have X-Works, ESW. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
X-Works. X-Works normally it involves just the manufacturing, producing the goods, and every risk and everything about it is related to you, the buyer. Okay. They only produce. So can you see buyer's cost and risks? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
What it means that everything is your duty. They just produce the thing. You just get the things, buy the things from them, deliver everything. They don't do nothing. Okay. Okay. Then we have FCA, which is freight carrier. Okay.
Okay.
Freight carrier. Freight carrier. So there's a bit of freight that will be covered by the manufacturer. The rest you have to take care of it as a buyer. Okay, freight carrier. Then we have FAS, which is freight as shipment, which is more to do with the seller's costs. Okay, the seller's cost. The sellers take out of the cost to get the things to deliver to you, and you do the clearance. So there's a bit of risk as well, isn't it? The seller has a risk from the time the thing is produced to getting it to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you take off the clearance. So seller has a risk. Then we have FOB. I'm sure you know FOB, free on board. Free on board, which is more to do with the shipping people, where the things are kept on board. When the things are delivered on board, it's your responsibility to take off everything. It's called free on board. They will deliver the thing to you onto the ship, and that is it. Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
When the goods are delivered on the ship, from where they have to wherever on the ship, their duty then ceases. Okay. Then you have CFR. Have you heard of that? Cost freight rate. Okay. Cost freight. So the cost and the freight and the rate, everything is bound by you, the buyer. Then we have CIF. I think that's the most popular one. Cost insurance rate. Okay. Cost insurance. Then we have CIP, cost insurance and pay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are things that you can read more and learn more about. The options of transport. We've spoken about it. Depending on what the package, the unit, the brake pump, the liquid, all those things. Road services. What is a road service? Roll in, roll out. Normally for cars. Okay. Shipment through cars. It's called road services. Either you roll in or you don't normally have the back called tramp. You do the back of the ship. They lower those things. They lay that in front of. That's where they drive the cars in. Have you seen the one before?
Yeah.
That is called road services. So the options of transport, we've spoken about it already. I don't need to go over it again. Maritime transport, we've all spoken about it. That is more to do with the ports. I mean, anything maritime is have to do with the sea, the ports, you know, the determining factor, the trade road structure of the maritime industry. You know, all those things are things that you can read about. They are not too relevant. Distance, modal choice, and transport costs. Okay, we spoke about this. Okay, the road, the rail, and the maritime. So C1, C2, C3. Okay, the distance. Look at the distance when it comes to C2. Okay, look at C2. And C2 denotes what? Rail. And then you have maritime, which is green. C3. And then you have C1, which was road. Okay, so which is road. So road becomes the shortest amongst this. Okay, then so you say distance, modal choice, transport cost. Different transportation modes have different cost functions according to the service distance. Road, rail, and maritime transport are respectively a C1, a C2, and C3 cost functions. While road has a lower cost function for short distances, its cost function increases faster than rail and maritime cost functions. At a distance D1, it becomes more profitable to use rail transport than road transport, while from a distance D2, maritime transport becomes more advantageous when D1. When D1 is generally located between 500 and 750 kilometers of the point of departure, while D2 is near 1,500 km. Yeah, these are things that they're not much critical, but limitations of the model model. It assumes that modal options are interchangeable for many origins and destinations. Modal transport such as rail or maritime may not be present and thus cannot be considered as an option. Since rail and maritime transportation are discrete, networks only accessible through a terminal, most locations will involve a road transportation segment, which changes the cost of structure. There are also regional differences impacting the break-even distance. For Europe, due to higher market densities, the break-even distance is in the range of 650 miles, while in the United States, it is around 750 miles. Wow. For the United States, only around 5% of intermodal road transport concerns distance of less than 750 miles, underline the clear supremacy of track for such a service range. The average rail haul length is about 1,000. So it tells you the different road or different modal limitations from country to country. Okay, you understand?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's important that we understand these things. Rail and maritime transportation are discrete networks only accessible through a terminal. Most locations will involve a road transportation, of course, because rail may not have is follow the destination from one end to another. We don't have a long rail from one place to another. However, at one point you will need to end just to use a road transport to complete your final destination, and those are things that you need to understand. Risks of goods damage, safety and security of goods in transit also influence which mode of transport you use. Land transport may be preferred to rail transport because the doses are generally less. Okay, Land transport, very important. Water transport exposes the goods to parallel seas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hence, from a safety, sometimes the goods get there and the salt on the sea would have even damaged the stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sea transport is the most risky. That's very, very true. Also, to protect the goods in transit, certain types of packaging are recommended, which influences cost, which is true. Goods may also require special facilities such as refrigeration or special scrutiny measures that needs to be taken into consideration. Very important. Cost of transport. When choosing how to best transport goods for exportation, the budget should be the most important factor when making decision. Costs can vary based on the type and amount of goods that need to be transported. If a company is transporting heavy or bulk products over a long distance inland, then the road transport will be the most economical. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Why do you say so? Why not road?
Um, road, maybe it will you see the rails are said that they are strong enough to carry heavy and bulky goods as compared to trucks.
Good,
It means you are going to incur more
good,
cost in maintaining trucks
good,
because
good.
there's a likelihood that the frequency of breakdown will be high.
True. Good answer. Okay. So therefore, we can then assign or situate road transport to small amount of goods, then isn't it?
Yeah.
For shorter distance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then so it also says parking and handling cost. Water transport is without a doubt the cheapest mode of transport, which is very true. Very suitable for heavy or bulk goods that need to be transported over a long distance where time is not an important factor. Do we agree?
Yeah.
We agree. So as a manager, you have to factor in distance, isn't it?
Yeah.
You choose see if you think that the things that you have to supply or import is not a huge, it's not an urgent, it's not urgent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good. Some of the factors also is mentioned those more is reliability and regularity of service. The decision on which mode transport to use will be influenced by the urgency and speed by which the company would like goods to be delivered. Land, ocean, and air transport are usually affected by bad weather, such as heavy rains, snow, fog, and storms, which may cause delays. Normally, I think that land will have to increase. When it is any storm and stuff, land will be most affected, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I agree.
Good. Land is most affected because for the sea, they are more covered. The goods are not exposed, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then rail as well is more, so I think that land will have a bit more cost to blame. Land and air transport cater mainly for light and small shipments, while rail and sea transport cater for heavy shipments. Air and land transport are usually the best option to use for breakable products of high value. The size and weight of goods also play a role in deciding which mode of transport to use. Deciding which mode of transport to use will also be dependent on how dangerous, fragile. We've spoken about this already. Other considerations, okay? The terms of the export sales contract, very important, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sales contract, what terms? The buyer may stipulate that a particular mode of transport should be used. The buyer may stipulate a particular, of course, it's all about the cost.
Yeah.
Cost. The location of the foreign market, very important. You have to know what market either you're exporting or you are importing. Obviously, a destination on another continent will eliminate the road and road option for the main transport leg, of course. Okay, the location of the foreign market, you have to know and understand the market from which you are exporting or you are importing from. What are the the market like in that place? You are shipping or to a place that what are the market? What are the value market? What are the frequencies? The interest rate and all that you need to know.
Yeah.
All this, okay? The location of overseas buyer in relation to airport, seaport, and railway station. The facilities at the port of destination agent, whether there is bulk handling or container handling, you need to know all those things. Okay, and then you can see freight, the distance, we've spoken about the distance, ship, air, rail, and then inland. Okay, oversized or heavy loads, cross border, the overseas, distance than 40 kilometers, it is land. Distance more than 400 kilometers, it is either sea, air, rail, and then the other.
Yeah.
Overseas heavy loads, more heavy loads, then you have to look at sea. You have to look at rail, and you have to look at the other, which is water. Okay. Special requirements like refrigerators, sea, road, land, all of them can use those. Cross border, all of them can use, but overseas, you can only look at options like sea, plane, freight, and then the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, real, the other. So those are things that we need to take note of. Then explain the infrastructure and facilities associated with each of the transport modes. Okay, this we discussed. So transportation modes are useless without having a well-defined infrastructure which is established framework supporting the mode of transport. Very important. These infrastructures vary and are different for every mode of transportation. The infrastructure needed for roadways is the complete network of roads, including highways, avenue, street tunnels, bridges, and linking roads. For railways, this infrastructure takes the form of fast-moving tracks available for transportation trains, subways, and certain cable car facilities and differently distances station, allowing the passenger and the goods to move into the train. Very important. Traveling through air also requires a well-defined infrastructure of airports that should be well equipped with the facility of storing space both for the these are things that waterways are no exception to the rule and require a much modified and excellent technological support post with a radar facility and tracking to guide the ships. In other words, short transport infrastructure is a fixed installation of waterways, canals, railways, airways, terminals, bus stations, airports, railway stations, warehouses, road required to make the process of transformation complete smoothly and steadily. And you have far again housing 2019. So these things you can look into when you are studying. The environment plays a major role. You need to look at the environment. What are the environment? What are the state of the environment in that place? Okay. You need to look at the demand. You all know demand, cost and demand. Very important in those areas in making your choice. Okay. You can look at that. Financing, transportation infrastructure finance is considered to be the capital securing and intensive financing that can form their maintenance and development. Allocation of resources for the infrastructure needs great care since they bring more benefits to society and economy. The importance of these infrastructures can be understood from the fact that many private businesses are also willing to invest in this infrastructure since the return on their business with the help of their late infrastructure in immense construction and maintenance. Like any other facility transport, infrastructure is also exposed to wear and tear, and in order to maximize its effectiveness, regular maintenance and reconstruction is required by the authorities. These activities, in fact, are carried out at an intensive level in the form of repair activity to avoid accidents, mishaps, and massive distractions. Okay. Can you think of other factors which can affect transportation? Yes, weather.
Yeah.
Poor duties and what infrastructure. So those are things that we have to. Any general question?
No, I think
We are done for today.
well understood. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You are welcome. So just read a bit more on it and then prepare some questions for me on our lecture tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Is it tomorrow? Next week?
It's next week, rather. Sorry.
Yeah.
Next
Okay.
week. Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
Thank you very
Next
much.
week. Is it next week, Monday?
Monday, yes. I do
That's
Mondays
fine.
and Tuesdays. Yes.
Okay, so start to look at some of the assignments, okay?
Yes, yes.
Any questions, you can let me know. Okay?
All right. Okay.
You're welcome. Take
taking
care.
a look at.
Bye.
All right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.